Suzuki has sold outboard motors in American waters for over 50 years. Their reputation sits in a specific lane: affordable, Japanese-engineered reliability. The brand mechanics quietly respect and dealers quietly undersell. If you've been around boats long enough, you've probably heard someone say, "Suzuki just runs." And for a lot of owners, that's true. But here's what nobody tells you before you buy. There's a pattern in service forums, warranty analysis, and dealer network data that experienced buyers almost never see because it doesn't show up at the boat show. It shows up 3 years later when you're standing at a service counter, staring at a repair estimate that doesn't match what you expected when you signed the purchase contract. The number can be anywhere from $1,400 to over $3,800, depending on the failure and your geography. And geography, it turns out, matters more with Suzuki than most buyers realize. This is not a brand takedown. The data doesn't support that, and we're not going to pretend it does. This is an investigation into a specific set of trade-offs that Suzuki's engineering and distribution philosophy create but almost never surface for the retail buyer making a $15,000 to $30,000 outboard decision. Stay with me, because what's actually happening here is more structurally interesting than simple product failure. Let's establish where the credibility comes from. This script is built on 4 sources: Public N, HTSA, and Coast Guard Marine Recall filings, owner forums including The Whole Truth and iBoats, which collectively represent hundreds of thousands of documented service experiences, independent marine technician commentary sourced from public trade channels, and manufacturer-published dealer locator data cross-referenced against regional population density maps. None of what follows is insider information. All of it is publicly accessible. The issue isn't that this data is hidden. The issue is that nobody assembles it for the buyer before the purchase. To be precise, it is not universal, it is not catastrophic, and it does not affect every engine or every owner. But when you look at reported failure patterns across Suzuki's mid-range 4-stroke lineup, particularly the DF115 through DF200 displacement class from roughly 2014 forward, you see a cluster of recurring service themes that appear disproportionately relative to comparable Honda and Yamaha models in the same horsepower band. In fact, multiple technicians across marine forums report that the most common friction points involve these 2 areas. 1. Lower unit sealing and gear case maintenance sensitivity. Suzuki's lower units are generally well built, but several technicians note they are less tolerant of extended service intervals than comparable Mercury or Yamaha gear cases. The design isn't flawed, but it is less forgiving when owners push past recommended maintenance windows, which, in real-world ownership, happens regularly. 2. Lean surge and idle instability. Complaints in the DF115 and DF140 models from specific production years appear with notable frequency in forum diagnostics, often traced to fuel system sensitivity to ethanol content above 10%. And here's where the investigation sharpens. Suzuki's authorized dealer network in the United States is substantially thinner than Yamaha's or Mercury's. In fact, according to publicly available dealer locator comparisons, Suzuki's US Marine dealer footprint is estimated at roughly a third of Yamaha's. That statistic alone doesn't tell the whole story. But pair it with Suzuki's domestic parts distribution model, and you begin to understand why technicians in low-density dealer regions report routine parts waits of 10 days to 3 weeks for non-stocked components. For a recreational boater in the Midwest or Mountain West, That's not just an inconvenience. That's an entire season of planned use disrupted. A lower unit rebuild on a mid-size Suzuki 4-stroke will typically run between $1,200 and $2,500, depending on the severity and parts required, and warranty coverage on most Suzuki consumer outboards runs 3 years for recreational use, which is competitive. But warranty is only valuable when the authorized service network is dense enough to deliver it efficiently. So in major coastal markets like Florida and the Pacific Northwest, Suzuki's network is generally adequate. But in secondary and tertiary markets, warranty claims can take longer to process simply because the nearest authorized dealer is farther away. The real financial risk is the time cost, the seasonal opportunity cost, and in some cases, the resale perception shift. What that means is when a buyer in a secondary market is evaluating a used boat, Suzuki's thinner regional footprint creates uncertainty in the minds of buyers, and that uncertainty compounds over time in ways that show up in resale negotiation. Now, the counterbalance. You see, in coastal markets with full dealer support, Suzuki 4-strokes have a legitimate reliability argument that is difficult to dismiss. Multiple independent marine surveys and consumer satisfaction assessments have placed Suzuki in the upper tier of owner satisfaction among the major 4-stroke brands. Their VST fuel system design has been praised by technicians for reduced vapor lock sensitivity compared to earlier industry designs. Even the DF300 and DF350 AP models have received industry recognition for engineering quality. Suzuki's lean burn and offset drive shaft technology represent genuine innovation and not marketing language. In fact, several experienced marine mechanics, when asked in public forum discussions why they still recommend Suzuki, give consistent answers. They say the engines run clean, that Suzuki is honest about their power ratings, and when properly maintained, they genuinely hold up. One widely cited observation from a technician with over 2 decades of marine service experience, posted publicly in a forum thread, put it plainly. Suzuki's problem isn't the engine, it's the ecosystem around the engine. The metal is fine, the support structure is uneven. That distinction matters because it means the ownership experience is not brand determined, it's geography determined. And that changes the buyer's calculation entirely. Yamaha and Mercury, on the other hand, have spent decades building dealer density as a strategic moat. Their service networks are not just customer support, but market share protection mechanisms. And this is where the responsibility equation shifts to the owner. The brand does not determine the outcome. The owner's maintenance discipline determines the outcome. So here's what this investigation actually found. Suzuki does not have a secret catastrophic failure problem. What it has is a documented, underreported structural trade-off between its engineering quality and its support infrastructure. A trade-off that is largely invisible at the point of sale and becomes visible at the point of need. In coastal markets with robust dealer networks, Suzuki is a legitimate, excellent choice. But in secondary markets where dealer density is thin, the ownership risk profile is meaningfully different from what the sticker price and the brand reputation suggest. For some buyers, that's all the difference, because if you're in the market for an outboard, the smartest move you can make is to call 3 independent marine service shops within 20 miles of your home water before you commit to any brand, and to ask them which engines they stock parts for, how long a warranty claim typically takes to resolve, and which brands create the most friction when something goes wrong. That conversation will tell you more about your real ownership risk than any spec sheet or boat show sales pitch ever will.